After seeing this movie for the first time, I am very positive that people will say this phrase after their first reaction to this movie.
What the hell was that?
Eraserhead is a 1977 experimental body horror film written, directed, produced, and composed by David Lynch. And this movie is about a man named Henry that has dinner with his girlfriend's parents. And while he's at this dinner, everything goes wrong. There is an argument that kicks up about their past, a lot of strange images appear within Henry's imagination, and then you have this movie that is very influential, but it is just so awkward at the same time. My goodness, I am actually very excited to talk about Eraserhead, because this is one of the most uniquely made movies I have ever seen. It is very fascinating but disturbing at the same time, and that is just the beauty of Eraserhead. That's also thanks to the imagination and creativity of David Lynch himself. Honestly, just me sitting down here right now giving a review of Eraserhead is difficult enough because there are just several things that I need to talk about when giving a movie review for this film. First of all, David Lynch is literally one of the most imaginative and creative directors I have ever witnessed. Everything from the cinematography, the practical effects, the lighting, the sound effects, the music, everything about this movie just makes this film a living reality of a nightmare. It feels so disturbing, but it's also very beautiful at the same time. Just everything about this film just feels as if you're walking through a nightmare with your own two footsteps. And as you continue to go down into the rabbit hole, you discover more about the darkness of your imagination and what type of images that we can imagine when we have nightmares at night. The best thing about Eraserhead are the practical effects because that is basically what sells the movie. Everything from how the animatronics were enhanced to all of the figures that were also placed in each frame, that is what makes the movie just feel so realistically disturbing and even gross at the same time. Because the way how this movie uses those practical effects makes it appear as if you're actually touching these type of objects or creatures that are explained and illustrated in the film. And that is basically what makes the movie kind of graphic at the same time, and why some people will feel very grossed out when they watch this film, because of how everything was used in movie making, and it even shows how people can use just simple effects while filmmaking instead of, CGI that we have today. In fact, that is what's really impressive about Eraserhead, is how this film from 77 was so dependent on practical effects compared to the stuff that we have today with CGI and big budget. Eraserhead is also a movie that has such special cinematography, and that is also the genius of David Lynch's direction in relation to how he uses shots and frames to trick people's vision when they watch this movie. Because this is a movie that is actually meant to be seen in the dark. You will not be able to see a lot of frames when you watch it with the lights on or during the daytime. But when you watch it with the lights off or during nighttime, there are such special frames and images that you see within a single shot. And that is one of the coolest things about how Lynch uses cinematography in this film. And those are things that people can also revisit when they have multiple viewings of Eraserhead. But what might conflict people about Eraserhead is the film's overall message and interpretation. And I could really understand that because it took me a while to really understand this film. And from what I could say is that this is a movie that is not meant to have so much dialogue. In fact, there is barely any dialogue. You only get it within the first 15 to 20 minutes of the film. In fact, this movie is only 89 minutes long, and it's basically devoted to visual imagery of the subconscious mind and nightmares. And basically, that is one of the coolest things about Eraserhead, is that people can watch this movie and have their own interpretation of the film. And to me, watching this film, I would have to say Eraserhead has to speak to how disturbing our imagination can be, and what type of images that we can think of when we feel as if we have to erase our past mistakes in our lives. And it has a very deep meaning about the subconscious, and what our nightmares basically reflect about ourselves and our relationships of people. This is also not a very easy film to just think about and to have one message. It takes multiple viewings and a ton of film discussions, especially with what I'm having right now, to really understand Eraserhead as a whole. And I believe I can remember that David Lynch once said that this was a film that you were not supposed to really understand fully, because the whole point of this film, or the filmmaking in general, is to see these visual metaphors play out and to see how they can compare to your own interests and feelings. I honestly do not have that many issues with Eraserhead. This is a film that is just so amazing, but if there's one flaw that I have, this is a personal nitpick from me. I wish that there was just one line of dialogue to explain what Henry is going through, because that way you can also prepare yourself mentally about whether he is about to face some sort of trauma or nightmare, and also preparation for the audience's mental state. But I can also forgive that because Lynch's purpose was for people to interpret it their own without giving so much lines of dialogue and explaining everything, like, this is how this works, this is how that works. Other than that, Eraserhead is just a masterfully made movie. It is a true definition of horror film. This will inspire filmmakers to be as much practical as they can. And because of everything, I'm actually going to give it a very special grade. And despite my minor issue with the film, I would love to give Eraserhead a 9.5 out of 10. And that is my review for Eraserhead. It was so much fun having a new Criterion Collection movie review. I love making these Criterion Collection videos for everyone, and I hope everyone is having a great Thursday night. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more videos coming up. Thank you very much, guys!